and the omnibus. So I was forced into the Archers when I was a child. And look, it's come back to bite me later on. I'm awash with this stuff.
The Archers is the world's longest-running radio show, with more than 15,000 episodes broadcast. Despite being a rural flavour show, The Archers is recorded in the heart of...
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going straight into the eye of a pretty intense storm.
We really are.
We're looking at what happens when a family, a really core unit, realizes they have to build this airtight story.
A narrative of deceit, really.
All to make sure one person doesn't lose, well, everything.
Our source material today is just packed. It's all these tangled conversations between Ed, Em, George, and Brad right after a really serious incident at home.
And our mission, really, is to trace the life cycle of a lie.
Yeah, from how it was created to the moment it started to crack under pressure.
And then getting to the real motivation behind this massive cover-up.
The central event seems so simple on the surface.
It does. Ed falls down the stairs and gets injured, but as you look at these interactions, it becomes so clear so fast.
This wasn't just some physical accident.
No, it was a crisis of trust, and it was all driven by the absolute terror of a parole violation.
That's the key. It's a scenario where the truth is, it's a luxury that nobody there can afford.
And the first thing you see is this attempt to just, reduce the whole crisis down to an inconvenience.
Exactly. The first step in a good cover-up is to minimize the damage. Make it seem like no big deal.
So let's start there. Let's look at Ed's status. He's the one who fell.
Right. Amber mentions he's missed work, his wrist is sore, the swelling's going down.
And she says almost casually that it could have been much worse. A broken ankle, his back, or a head injury.
And that phrasing could have been much worse. That's not just an offhand comment, is it?
No, it feels like a conscious effort. It's downplaying the severity before we even get to the real reason for the fall.
It's all about making it sound like a simple bit of bad luck, nothing more.
And then you see Ed and Em sort of testing out narratives.
Uh-huh. Ed's first story, the one he had to tell George, is that he slept on a book.
Which is just bizarre. It's a complete throwaway line.
It's nonsensical. But they quickly land on the official public story, the one they confirmed to Brad.
That Ed fell over Poppy's book.
So why that story? It's so flimsy.
Well, they admit it themselves. It was just easier that way.
But easier here doesn't mean easier to explain to a neighbor.
No, easier means less complicated to explain to a parole officer.
So this lie is already working as a kind of legal defense mechanism.
Disguised as, just a minor bit of household clumsiness.
And it's the perfect camouflage. For a while, anyway.
Until Brad arrives.
Yes. Brad is the one who completely destabilizes their story. He was there right after the fall.
You mentioned this is a tight-knit community, but Brad's gut feeling, his instinct, it just pushes him to challenge the people closest to him.
And he doesn't question the injury itself. He's not saying, "You're not hurt."
No, he challenges the nature of the fall. He tells Ed he couldn't get George's face out of his mind.
Standing at the top of the stairs looking down.
He describes George as terrified, but then he adds that critical little insight.
There was something else.
And that something else is everything.
It's Brad realizing that George wasn't just scared for Ed.
He was scared of the consequences of what he'd just done.
That one observation, that's what forces their hand.
Brad comes right out and asks him. He says he wondered if it might not have been an accident.
And that question just cracks the whole thing open.
It finally extracts the truth, or at least the truth they're willing to share with Brad.
That George was really worked up. He was agitated about money, his dad's money, and this constant fear that Amber was going to leave him.
And he ran upstairs in just a terrible state.
Ed follows him, trying to be the peacemaker, to reason with him.
But even Ed admits he knew at the time there's no talking to him when he gets like that.
And that's when the confrontation happens. George just wants to be left alone, and he pushes Ed away.
Now here is the crucial distinction. This is the line that Em and Ed are so desperately trying to draw in the sand.
They insist emphatically that George did not mean for Ed to fall.
They say it was absolutely an accident.
They're trying to separate George's intent, which was just to create some space, from the outcome, which was Ed falling down the stairs and getting hurt.
And that distinction is, well, it's everything.
It's the difference between a clumsy shove and an assault. If they can argue it was just to push him out of the way, they might be able to frame it as an accident.
But if that push was seen as aggressive, as intending to cause any harm at all,
then they cross a line that could mean George's parole is revoked. Just like that.
Hold on, let me push back on that for a second, because Ed is the victor here, right?
Yes.
And his words should carry some weight. He even says later that he was having a go at George, that it was his own fault for following him.
He does. He takes the blame.
So shouldn't that be enough to protect George? I mean, why is M so obsessed with controlling every single detail if Ed is already taking responsibility?
Because when you're dealing with someone on parole,
Introducing the Archer's mug, where elegance meets everyday comfort. Crafted from premium white ceramic, designed with vibrant peekaboo colors inside, simple, modern, and stylish. Start your day the Archer's way, with warmth, familiarity, and the comfort of voices you've come to love. As the stories unfold on the Archers, let this mug become part of your daily ritual, a small reminder of life in Ambridge. Practical for every home, dishwasher and microwave safe. Available in 2 sizes, 11 ounces and 15 ounces, designed to fit your lifestyle. Enjoy your favorite drink in a mug that connects you to Britain's most beloved countryside story, The Archers. For more information, and to order your very own The Archers mug, follow the link below and make it part of your daily routine.
the system doesn't just rely on what the victim says.
Oh.
They rely on the evidence that an incident happened, a confrontation, an injury. M knows the real danger isn't Ed pressing charges.
The real danger is
The offender manager just getting wind of any hint of violence.
So if we connect that back to the risks George is facing, M is, she's right to be obsessed.
She is. He's out on license. A huge condition of his parole is showing he can manage conflict without becoming aggressive.
Even an accidental fall that happens during a heated argument could be seen as a failure to meet those conditions.
It absolutely could.
So the goal is to erase any suggestion that you'd been violent. This is way beyond a family drama now.
It's about survival. If anyone reports this, if the parole board thinks the story is fishy, he could go straight back to prison.
Which turns this into a life or death situation for George's future.
And it triggers this almost immediate recruitment drive for the lie.
M becomes the chief strategist. She's the one who says it's essential that no one else knows the details, not even Amber or Brad.
Right. And even though Brad now knows about the push, he gets it. He understands the stakes and agrees to stick to the accident story.
And we find out Ed's mother knows the full truth too.
And she's also complicit. She's agreed to the secrecy.
It's fascinating how that family structure just instantly bends to protect itself, even if it means lying to Amber.
Who is probably the person who cares about George the most.
And that's where the irony just gets so deep. Because while this legal time bomb is ticking,
George is just drowning in stress, money worries, fear of being abandoned.
and Amber, who has no idea about the push, is trying to fix everything with, domestic comforts.
She's making lasagna. She's telling people how really sweet George has been looking after Ed. She's living in a totally different reality.
She sees the symptoms of his stress, but not the cause. And now the secret is just making that cause even bigger.
And you see her trying to deal with this bad vibe in the house. She gets her nails done.
A horseshoe design for luck. She's thinking of Bleeby, wishing for some good fortune because it's been a bit of a bad week.
That little detail says so much. She's reaching for these external, almost superstitious solutions because she has no idea that the real disaster is being managed through this intense, calculated deception happening right under her nose.
They're shielding her, but they're also isolating her. Her attempts to help are, well, they're kind of irrelevant.
And what about Ed in all this, the actual victim?
He's actively playing down his injury. He claims he's absolutely fine, no harm done, even though we know he missed work.
He's choosing to take the blame for his own fall. He says he shouldn't have followed George.
So is it an act of deep family love, or is he just terrified for George?
It's got to be both, right? It just underlines this powerful sense of responsibility they all feel.
Ed's choice to put George's freedom ahead of his own pain, his own grievance, that's what seals the deal.
The whole accident narrative only holds together because the victim is willing to say, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
That self-blame is their best defense. It's a crushing weight, though.
For everyone. George is trapped by his past, Ed's trapped by loyalty, and M is trapped as the keeper of the lie.
Which brings us back to Brad. He's now carrying the weight of this secret, too.
And his own anxieties give us this really striking parallel to the pressure we've been talking about.
How so?
Well, if George is trying to control his environment with, a defensive push.
Brad is dealing with the terror of losing control in a social setting.
Exactly. Brad's crisis is a first date. He's meeting someone from an app at the Borchester escape room.
And he says the whole idea of being trapped in a room for an afternoon with a total stranger is completely unhinged.
The parallel is so sharp there. George is terrified of being literally trapped again in prison.
And Brad is terrified of the figurative trap of a bad date, of that forced intimacy and social performance.
They're both trying to escape a reality that feels imposed on them.
And his friend Rex tries to help, right? He shares all those wonderfully awful date stories.
Oh yeah, the ghost hunting date.
My favorite was the date who brought his mom and dad in the pub.
I mean, can you imagine? Rex is just trying to ground Brad's anxiety by showing him, the worst case scenario is just some awkwardness.
He points out that the real horror is being stuck through a whole dinner when you know there's no spark.
At least with the escape room, you can, as he says, literally escape.
But it's not enough, is it? Rex's stories don't help.
No, because Brad's anxiety is deeper than just worrying about bad table manners.
Right outside the venue, he just bails. He cancels.
He realizes he prefers the idea of meeting someone organically, IRL, in real life. He has this almost romantic idea of a moment where the light changes and you realize they were there all along.
So he's rejecting this manufactured high-pressure scenario.
Yes, and think about it. Brad, who has just been forced into the manufactured reality of the Poppy's book story.
Now he's rejecting the manufactured reality of a dating app?
He wants an authentic connection.
Yeah.
Not something built on a script, which is such a powerful comment on the deceit he's now part of back home.
So if you step back and look at the whole picture, you see these two parallel acts of self-preservation.
You do. George defends himself physically, then legally, by pushing Ed and then enforcing this secret.
And Brad defends himself psychologically by pushing away the pressure of this very structured, high-stakes first date.
Both of them are reacting to a feeling of being completely out of control.
But the cost of George's self-preservation is huge. It's this deep moral compromise that pulls everyone in.
Ed, Em, and now Brad are all in this pact of silence. And the lie only works because the stakes, George going back to prison, are so high that the lie feels morally preferable to the truth.
So the key takeaway here is that the accident narrative is, well, it's a complete construct.
It's purely a social and legal construct.
Yeah.
It's not maintained because it's true. It's maintained because everyone, especially the victim, Ed, has agreed to enforce it.
Ed's insistence that he was the one at fault, that he was having a go at George, that's what neutralizes the whole thing.
Which leaves you with this really powerful question about truth in these high-pressure situations.
If the victim, Ed, is actively downplaying what happened and taking all the responsibility,
who actually holds the power to decide what's an accident versus what's an act of violence when the alternative is just, this complete systemic failure for George?
when the stakes are that high and the victim is protecting the perpetrator, does the word accident stop being about what actually happened?
And become more about who is willing to maintain the consensus?
So is the accident only an accident if everyone agrees to call it one? That's the heavy burden they all have to carry now.
It is. And it makes you wonder if that consensus, that engineered story, can ever really hold. Or if the pressure of that lie will just cause an even bigger crisis down the road.
Keep digging for the truth beneath the accepted story. Until next time.
So, what are you doing now?
Just getting ready for the next episode. Just
And,
moving mics around.
So, what do you do?
I do the spot effects on the arches. Any
Are you what we
movements
call Foley then?
and- kind of. Yep.
Okay. And these are all part of the paraphernalia of production.
Yep. That's the ball bar. That's.
This one.
Yep. That's.
Haley so wanted to be in their own place when their baby came. It's due in 2 months. Not much chance of that now. No. I mean, it would have been a stretch for them financially, mind, but I just wish there was something practical I could do to help them, Caroline.
I think The Archers has had this immense popularity over the years, basically because it has always very accurately reflected the reality of life and living in a rural community at whatever